Hey, you guys. So we have got a couple of things to try and cover today. You read the poem, There Will Come Soft Rains, and then you read the short story, There Will Come Soft Rains. So I want to talk about all of that, plus talk a little bit about tone in literature. So lots to cover today. All right. So the first thing, the poem, which I'm going to share with you right now, because you read this the other day, the poem by Sarah Teasdale. Um, you'll notice that it actually starts by saying wartime, which is interesting. It's written in 1884, so this is a really old poem. And keep that in mind. This poem was written a long time ago. And the short story that you read was written much more recently, although still a number of decades ago. But anyway, wartime. There will come soft rains and the smell of the ground, and swallows circling with their shimmering sound, and frogs in the pools singing at night, and wild plum trees in tremulous white. Robins will wear their feathery fire, whistling their whims on a low fence wire. And not one will know of the war, not one will care at last when it is done. Not one would mind, neither bird nor tree, if mankind perished utterly. And spring herself, when she awoke at dawn, would scarcely know that we were gone. One of the things that jumps out to me is how pleasant this poem sounds. It sounds soft, it sounds nice. If we look at the first line, soft rains. If you've ever gone outside after the rain and you smell the smell, and we get this, what's called alliteration, that's repetition of the sounds. Swallows, circling, shimmering sound, right? We get lots of nature, the frogs, the plum trees, the robins, and it just sounds very nice. But what's missing is humanity. It says at the end, nature would scarcely notice if we were gone. If all humans died, life for nature would continue. That's got a dark twist to it. It sounds really nice and upbeat and positive, but like, I don't know, humans are pretty important on the earth. So these two different things going on in this poem. All right. Now, Ray Bradbury, who is a great author and written many things, wrote August 2026, There Will Come Soft Rains. Now, it was really written in 1950, but he is imagining the future. He imagines what is the world going to be like in the year 2026. Now, we're in the year 2020, okay? He wrote this to be 76 years into the future, pretty much an average lifetime in the future. And now we are actually approaching, we are just a few years shy of what he imagined the world would be like. So, before we jump into the text, I want to kind of give a little bit of a historical background that in the 1950s, people were coming home from World War II. Men came out of the service, they got married, families started having babies. That's when we start to see the explosion of suburban living, where these people had money from being in the service and they could buy homes. And so you get almost the cookie cutter view of the homes. And you probably see this in your neighborhood now. Many of the neighborhoods around Buena Park and Anaheim and Fullerton are really old neighborhoods that kind of come out of this era. We get this idea of, the American dream, the status, a nice 3-bedroom house, mom and dad, 2 kids and a dog. That's kind of what was building into this American persona of the 1950s. Machines start making life easier. There was this machine that was invented that you could put your food into it and turn it on and it would cook it. Right? The stove. There were these other machines that could do the laundry. They were called a washing machine and a drying machine. what it would be like. And so we get this flying saucer kind of car, flying saucers for everybody. We haven't quite achieved that yet. Um, Robots and flying cars and moon colonies, self-driving cars. Some of this we're actually starting to see come to reality. Self-driving cars is a thing right now. Technology is not perfect, but we're pretty darn close. We might not have robots like in this picture, but you have robots in your house. I'm willing to guarantee it. Okay. We're not going to watch this whole commercial, but it's really funny to look at the way Amazon Alexa and Google Home have integrated this technology into our lives, where we can just say things like, Alexa, turn off the lights, and the lights get turned off. I would recommend you look up some of these commercials if you are unfamiliar with them, but how we can use technology to help guide our lives. So that's kind of where Ray Bradbury was imagining the future was going to go. Now, if you also know what led up to this great time in the 50s was, of course, the end of World War II. And one of the major things at the end of World War II was the atomic bomb in Japan, and how that massive power, killing millions of people with one bomb, radically changed American and world culture and how we thought about things. Because while we had this great technology, we could eliminate so many lives in the blink of an eye with this kind of weapon. So that's where Bradbury's coming from when he writes the story, There Will Come Soft Rains. And so in the living room, the voice rang, the voice clock saying, tick tock, 7 o'clock, time to get up, 7 o'clock. We have alarms and timers like this all the time. You can say, Alexa, set a timer for 10 minutes. On our phones, we can set timers and alarms. Maybe that's your primary alarm. So when it says the living room clock saying out this thing, it totally makes sense to us. Okay. But the house is empty. The clock repeated. The kitchen, the breakfast stove was giving a hissing sigh. It was the stove itself was making perfectly brown toast and eggs sunny side up. It was making the bacon and the coffees. And it says the date, in the city of Allendale, California. Today is Mr. Featherstone's birthday. Of events, this calendar. Today is the anniversary of. So all of this is going on in this kind of home. Outside, the garage chimed and lifted its door to reveal the waiting car. The door opens up automatically, waits, and it closes. But what's missing is that no car leaves. Nobody seems to be coming to eat the breakfast. At 8:30, the eggs were shriveled and the toast was like stone. An aluminum wedge scraped them into the sink, where hot water whirled them down a metal throat, which digested and flushed them away. So nobody comes to eat this food. The clock continues, and then we get these mice, these tiny little robots, those little robotic mice coming out, and they clean up and they dust and they vacuum. Well, we might not have little mice, but do you have a Roomba in your home, a self-vacuuming robot? You might not have one, but you've probably heard of one or seen the commercials for them. It's little machines that we can set up to clean up our house, and we don't have to do anything. That's part of what Bradbury, again, is imagining here. All right, time is passing, 10 o'clock, 10:15. The house is just operating. But as we step outside, we see 5 spots of paint. The man, the woman, the children, the ball remained. The rest in a thin charcoal layer. This, you have to imagine, is your imagery. Imagine a perfectly flat white wall. And now take 5 people and stand them up against the wall and paint everything around them in black. Remove the people and you see their white outline. How would you get something like that? How do you get this outline of a ball in the air? Well, of course, you get it from the idea of a huge explosion blast. Okay. This family was outside, they're barbecuing, they're just enjoying the day. Something happens, and the light from this is so strong that it burns the house. But where the people were is protected, so we see their silhouettes. But what do you think happened to the people? Gone, right? So he's sliding in this little detail here of what happened to the people. He doesn't actually explain it. He doesn't sit in it. He doesn't really rest in that idea and develop it, but he just tells us the people are gone. Oh, until this day, how well the house had kept its peace. Um, when inquirers came. Well, if the people are gone, who would be inquirers? Coyotes, foxes, cats, birds trying to get into the house, get the food, right? It even says lonely foxes and cats trying to get into the house, and the house is locked up. All right. The house was an altar with 10,000 attendants, big, small, servicing attendants inquire. The gods have gone away. The ritual of the religion continued senselessly, uselessly. Who are the gods in this kingdom? Well, the people, and the machines serve the people. With no people, the machines still serve, but they served for no purpose. 12 noon, the dog whines. The dog can smell the food that's been cooked, but he can't get into the room to get the food. It's kind of sad. It scratches at the door, behind the door. It can sense this food, but it can't get to it. Froths at the mouth, and later the dog dies. So this detail tells us that the dog, who just dies like this, has been around for a long time, but has been unfed for weeks and weeks now. And he finally dies of starvation, which is kind of sad. So the people have been gone for weeks and weeks. The dog has been unable to get the food, and yet the house continues. It sets out the tables with cards because you play cards in the evening, right? The drinks. At 4:30, the nursery walls glowed. That would be where the little children, the babies were. And we see giraffes and lions. So you could almost imagine almost like a TV projection on the walls. And the room comes to life with this brilliant display of fun things that a child would find interesting. 5 o'clock, the baths were filled. 6, 7, 8 o'clock, the dinner dishes manipulated like magic tricks. In the study, a click. In the metal stand opposite the hearth, a cigar popped out, half an inch of soft gray ash on it. So the house prepares the man's perfect cigar. It's already lit. You just got to pick it up. It's like that. Perfect. Exactly how you would want it. And then the machine comes on and says, what poem would you like? Shall I read you a poem? And the machine reads us the Sarah Teasdale's poem, which we've talked about. All right, now the house catches on fire, 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 and the house pumps water and shoots water. Okay. Now we have similar kind of things, not like this in our house, but in buildings, we have the automatic fire sprinklers and things like that. We have fire alarms that can warn us of fire. So those are different types of machines that protect our homes. The house tried to save itself. The doors sprang tightly shut. The windows were broken by the heat. The house gave ground as the fire and 10 billion angry sparks moved with flaming ease from room to room and then upstairs. But it's too late. The pump shrugged to a stop. The quenching rain ceased. The house was unable to put out the fire itself. Although it tried, it was unsuccessful. All right. So the fire comes out and consumes the house. Everything burns. The nursery, the jungle burns. So you can imagine this picture is almost like melting as the house is burning. 10 more voices died. Well, these aren't people, these are the machine voices, these are the robot voices. This is the house in all of its different little rooms, all of the little Alexa things chirping, right? They all die. The house continues to break apart, fall apart. And what's fascinating is that through all of the destruction, as the house is now lying in a crumbled August 12th, 2026. Today is August 1st, 2026. As the house is dying. That's the end. That's how the story ends. So what the heck is Bradbury trying to say here? I think he's trying to say so many things. One, his vision of the future is really awesome. He imagines technology doing so many things for us, and we're only a few years short, and we see some of this as actual possibilities. Bradbury had no idea we would have election devices and OK Google devices and all other sorts of similar devices throughout our homes. He had no idea we would be able to speak and have computer responses to our requests. Think about it now. You can say, Alexa, turn on some music, and Alexa does it. Alexa, read me a poem, and Alexa will do it. That wasn't a possibility when he wrote this. We have TVs that are huge as walls, 70, 80-inch TVs. That's not unlike the nursery scene that we see here. Smart homes, technologically integrated homes. And if you look at some of the newest models, I went into a model home. They built brand new homes just a few blocks from where my house is recently. These brand new homes. And in every wall, it said, this is an Amazon, I forget exactly what it said, an Amazon integrated home. They built into the walls Amazon Alexa. If you go to the stores today, you can see refrigerators that are built in with Amazon Alexa and washers and dryers that are built in with this technology. And from your phone, you can program your heating and your air conditioning. And you can check to see what kind of food is in your refrigerator. So if you get to the store and you're like, oh, do I need milk? You can check on your phone. We have that amazing technology. All right. All that aside, though, what good is technology if humans aren't around? What happens in the story? No people around. No one's there to enjoy the food. In fact, the smell of the food drives the dog crazy and the dog dies. So, in some ways, without humans, things are worse for the dog anyway. All that food is just going to waste without the people. The house is very smart and it tries to save itself, but ultimately it doesn't. So, what is Bradbury saying here about technology? Is it cool? Yeah, this is a cool house. Does technology do any good when there's no to enjoy it? This has got a lot of layers, a lot of things going on in the story. But we're going to finish with this one last idea, which is the idea of tone. Tone, or how things are said, how things are done, right? We've got this idea we can be sarcastic in our tone, we can be angry, we can show depression, we can show joy and happiness. Right? So, the tone in There Will Come Soft Rains. When you imagine this, what do you see in your head? On the right, we have this beautiful, gorgeous, perfect home. Looks awesome, fully technologically integrated. On the left, we have this nuclear waste and this destroyed home. What do you think the tone of the story is? Which in your mind did you see? Did you see this perfect, pristine house or this broken down, ramshackle home? I'm not going to tell you what you should think, but I want you to be aware of the tone. Look at the words, look at the poem. I think the tone of the poem is very happy and upbeat, which makes All right. So, and you're going to use this idea of tone tomorrow as well. So, I know I'm kind of rushing. Pretty much covers all the high points of the poem and the story and the idea. So, tomorrow you're going to watch two videos, two interpretations of this story, and I think you'll enjoy them. They're pretty good. I love doing this together as a class. I'm sorry we can't be together. So, all right, there will come soft rains. Both the poem and the short story. Clearly, Ray Bradbury took the title from the poem. He knew what he was doing. He even used the poem in his story. So I think that covers that for now. All right, you guys, thanks for paying attention, and talk to you later. Bye.